End of the Road is a new movie from Netflix, and it not only stars Ludacris, it is Ludacris. Let's talk about why. Hey guys, I'm Karl. This is my movie film show. Feel free to jump below this video and subscribe if you'd like to. But today we're here to talk about End of the Road, a new movie which came out on Netflix recently starring Queen Latifah and Ludacris. Some other people in there as well. The movie advertises itself as a thriller, although after watching the movie, I don't think they really knew what they were trying to make. It's almost like the writer had 3 or 4 different stories in mind and tried to combine them all in a 90-minute movie. The movie's only an hour and a half long, so it does flow by pretty quickly, especially with so much happening within those 90 minutes. But to give you an example of what I mean of so much happening, perhaps too much happening, and different stories happening, let's have a quick rundown of the story. So if you haven't actually seen the movie, now's a good time to pause the video, go watch the movie, come back, and then check out the spoilers. Although if you want to just watch the spoilers, you can do that too. Because I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend the movie to anybody. So the movie starts out, and it's actually pretty good at the beginning. We start off with a mother who's simply trying to hold it all together for her family after her partner passed away. The father of the family has died, and they've unfortunately lost their house, which is a pretty common real world scenario. So the daughter is acting up and the young son doesn't want to leave their family home. For some reason their uncle is also there, and he's played by Ludacris. He's of course the cool uncle who gives his niece drugs, and he's the guy who's kind of the loser of the family, who's always trying to redeem himself. But as I mentioned, they've lost their house, so now they have to travel from, I believe it's California, all the way to Texas to her mother's house where they're now going to live. So the movie at the beginning sets up to be a travel movie, an on-the-road movie, which plenty of movies have been down the years to varying degrees of success. Very much set up that it's going to be a story about a family having to come together and overcoming the loss of a loved one, and how the mother battles to keep the family together as they travel to a new home. However, the movie massively verges away from that as the family leave the town. Out of nowhere, flies a helicopter containing a South American gangster with a bag full of money, which he gives to 2 gangsters who are collecting on the behalf of Mr. Cross. One of the goons decides he wants to take the money because who the hell is Mr. Cross anyway? I'm going to take the money for myself. So he shoots his partner and steals the money. We then jump immediately back to the family, and they're refueling their car at a gas station. While there, Queen Latifah's character is made to feel unwelcome, so she tries to get her family into the car as quickly as possible to leave. But on the way, her daughter is catcalled, and her daughter flips off the guys who catcall her. This leads to 2 racist hillbillies chasing down their car and ultimately having a standoff with Queen Latifah in a very tense scene, and we'll get back to this scene because it is one of the better scenes. Well, following on from these events, they decide to get a motel in Arizona. In the motel, they have family time, they're laughing and joking, and all of a sudden they hear someone in the other room and they hear gunshots. This leads to Queen Latifah and Ludacris going into the room, finding a guy bleeding out, and Ludacris ultimately finding a bag of money, the same bag of money that was destined for Mr. Cross earlier in the movie. So now the family have the bag of money which belongs to Mr. Cross, unbeknownst to them. Along comes a police officer the next day to the crime scene where the man's been killed. The family have already been released, and he's not happy about that because he wanted to question them. He says they might be in danger. This police officer is played by Beau Bridges, who is the only other character that the family interact with for the rest of the movie. He's also the best known actor in the movie apart from the main family. So, you know, this guy definitely 100% is not going to be Mr. Cross. There's no possible way that this other police officer, chief of police, who's the most recognizable face apart from the main characters and is the only other character the family deal with, is going to turn out to be Mr. Cross. There's no way. But let's get on to the next part. So the movie's already changed from a family road trip where they're moving house and trying to get over the death of a loved one to them seeing something they shouldn't have seen and them taking some money that doesn't belong to them. They now have to give that money back. So you think what they do is they just arrange to leave the money somewhere and he can get it. And that's basically what Queen Latifah does. She puts it in a motel room, she tells Mr. Cross where it is and says, go get it. That should be it. End of the movie. They get to Texas, everybody happy families. But no, Mr. Cross isn't happy with this. And when the family have taken a pit stop at a cowboy town for some reason, while they're there, their son, the youngest member of the cast, is abducted by Mr. Cross. And when he tells Queen Latifah that he's taken her son, she goes, oh crap, better go get the money, go give it to him. At this point, we still don't know who Mr. Cross is. We just know the kid's been taken. Now Ludacris and the young girl have been left at the cowboy town, and Queen Latifah is heading off to do her own thing. So then, through a series of events, Ludacris and the young girl end up meeting up with the cop, and the cop says he's going to get them safe to his house. They'll get some food, they'll calm down for the night, and they'll be safe. When they get to the house, they meet his wife, and everybody seems very happy and jovial. They joke a little bit, and then he opens his boot to reveal the kid is in his boot. What do Americans call it? trunk. In the trunk of the car, the boot of the car, whatever you call it. He's in the back of the car. And this is the point, the shock moment, the big twist where you will never guess who was Mr. Cross. Well, it was the policeman that I just mentioned. You know, kind of did not reveal very well. But then again, neither did the movie, because as I mentioned, Beau Bridges is the most recognizable face of the rest of the cast, and he's also the only other actor to this point in the movie the main cast have interacted with. So they didn't give you any other choice other than it being Beau Bridges being Mr. Cross, which was a terrible twist. But now Mr. Cross has all of the family apart from Queen Latifah. However, while this was happening, Queen Latifah somehow ended up in a situation where she's now in a campsite beating up a lot of white supremacists. I don't know how we got to this situation, but yeah, that happened. So now, Queen Latifah ends up back on track, trying to get to Mr. Cross' house to deliver the money to free her son, or so she believes. She doesn't know that Ludacris and her daughter are also captured by Mr. Cross. But while in the house, Ludacris realizes Mr. Cross is never going to let them go because he's the bad guy, and you know, bad guys don't just let you go because you know too much at this point. So they end up attacking this old man, blinding him with bleach, then attacking his wife and locking her and the old man in a cellar, and they escape the house. They're faster, they're younger, they just meet up with Queen Latifah and leave. Well, her car conveniently broke down, so they have to slow down a little bit. And while they're doing that, Beau Bridges, despite being an older man, still has the strength to break down a door, and him and his wife grab their guns and they're going to kill the family, because now it's a thriller movie, a horror movie where these old people are hunting them for sport. Despite getting their money back because Ludacris left it on the driveway, they still want to just kill them because why not? So the movie's taking another twist yet again. And then through a series of events when they're chasing the family, through unfortunate events for them, Mrs. Cross ends up shooting herself in the head and Mr. Cross crashes into a tree, and it's a fiery ending for them. And then the family go and eat some waffles. So the movie just tried doing so many things all at once. As I mentioned, within the first half an hour of the movie, it was actually quite interesting. The pacing was decent and the story was building quite interestingly. It even had a very good scene where Queen Latifah faced down with two racist hillbilly guys who were giving him a lot of grief just because her daughter flipped them off. These guys demanded that Queen Latifah apologize for endangering their white lives, which has a shock factor to itself, that dialogue in itself. But Queen Latifah heavily holds that scene. You can really see the anguish in her of not wanting to say what she has to say, but saying it to protect her family. At that point in the movie, I actually had high hopes for the movie. It was going to be pretty damn good from that point on. However, it just went completely the other way. That was around the 30-minute mark, and the hour after the 30-minute mark is where the movie really went downhill and tried to just be too many things all at once. Now, at the end of the day, this is a Netflix movie, and I've said many times on this channel, Netflix simply don't make good movies. They just don't. They're a rarity to find a good Netflix movie. And this certainly isn't breaking the mold, because it's another bad movie from Netflix. So ultimately, we come down to a rating out of 10 for End of the Road. And after all the rambling and complaining about it I just did, I don't think it'll be any surprise to find I'm going to give it quite a low rating, a 2 out of 10. I would not recommend checking out this movie. However, a movie I can recommend watching is this movie right over here. It's called Nope. This is my review of it from just the other day. I'd highly recommend checking that out. And there's another video over here to check out if you've already seen the one about Nope.